Here with Ann Graham. Ann teaches third grade, and she is going to talk to me about her individual career development plan, which is part of our evaluation cycle. So, Ann, tell me about your individual career development plan, why you chose third grade fractions, and kind of how you developed this plan this fall.
Okay. Well, my plan is that to increase students' proficiency and understanding of fractions. My specific goal, I'm aiming it a little bit, I feel high, where I want 18 out of 19 or 95% of my students to be proficient in those math fraction standards, which I've listed here on my plan. I shouldn't say I listed that high, obviously. I would love for 100% of them to be proficient, but I also want to be able to meet my goal, so I thought that was pretty realistic. I chose this because fractions, teaching fractions has always been something not necessarily that I've struggled with, but maybe one of my weaker areas for teaching in math. And I knew I was going to be taking this class, and I've got my class listed here that I'm taking at the AEA. I thought that would kind of help me through my development plan. And also that's been an area of struggle for my third graders. Just one of the math areas that I feel like they've struggled in over the past couple years. So that's kind of where I was coming from when I developed my plan. Some things that I've been doing kind of leading up to this, I'll officially start teaching my fraction unit in January, middle of January and into February. But so far with taking the class, this started actually before the school year began. And so one of the assignments each month is to pose questions to my class. We're supposed to actually pose a question each week. And it's taught in a way that you launch the problem, the students have their exploration time with me going around giving some guiding questions, and they're definitely real world fraction problems, and it's just to develop that underlying understanding that fractions are a number, that there's not a separate number on top and a separate number on the bottom, but just kind of give them that background knowledge that fractions are a number and how to work with them. So we've been working up to that, which I definitely feel like when I actually dive into the unit, they'll have a much better, deeper understanding of what fractions actually are.
Sure. So I think you state your goal is 18 and 19 students would meet the math standard relating to fractions. Do you have any idea what your baseline, where your kids are at now? Is there going to be a pre-test?
Yeah, but prior to teaching the actual unit, I will do a formative assessment to see where they're at. Now, I haven't developed that formative assessment yet, and I'm hoping that my next class, which we will have before I actually get into the unit, I'm going to be asking those instructors some questions on, now that we've done these launch problems, the kids have had their time to explore, what would be a formative assessment that would be appropriate and give me the information that I need to go forward.
Sure. So we're close to halfway through the year, and you said you haven't quite, you haven't launched the unit, you've kind of just done the individual problems. What has gone well, what have you enjoyed, what has been successful, at least in kind of the pre-unit work?
I was frustrated at first because at least half of my students, when I posed the problems, and some of them are, a lot of them have been equal sharing problems. And some of the kids, I was frustrated because they didn't know how to write a fraction yet, and I wasn't, according to the way that we're teaching this, wasn't supposed to on the board say this is how you write your fraction. And so just the way that some of them wrote out their answers was a little frustrating to me. I wanted to tell them right away, no, this is how you do that. Some of them had no concept what a half was yet. And so lots of kids at the start just kind of frustrated. Once they realized that this was a learning experience, there was no necessarily right or wrong way to explain their answer, now I have a few students each time catching on, grasping more of the information and the the knowledge of the fractions. We also do, through this style of posing the problems, the final piece each lesson is that I pick 2 or 3 students to share their work, so actually project their work on the board. They walk through how they came up with their answer, and through that, other kids have seen, oh, that's how you write 1/2, or that's how they decided to divide their brownie. And so through looking at other student work, the kids have really gained a better understanding of what fractions are. So it's less teaching on my part, more kind of teaching each other and learning from each other, which is awesome to see that. So more light bulbs have gone on, and just allowing myself to kind of let go and let them build that understanding more on their own and through these real world problems has been
Sure.
really, really good to see.
So you have to have some idea of where your kids are at right now, without actually teaching the entire unit yet. How do you anticipate that students are going to perform during the fractions unit? I mean, it sounds like some informal baseline data.
Yeah. Every time we take the student work, we take one of the problems, a sample from each of the students, and then we actually go back to our class and we analyze that and we categorize, okay, these kids are non-anticipatory yet, where they just not really getting that understanding of what a fraction is. That number for my students has dramatically dropped. I think I have one student who is not understanding halves or how to show halves yet. So whereas at the beginning, like more than half of my class was at that non-anticipatory stage. I have quite a few students who know now, all the way up through fifths and how to divide something into fifths and how to show what a fifth looks like. So right now, about 80% of my students are showing a really good understanding of what fractions are, and just kind of thinking of my classes in years before, they're well ahead of the game as far as where I've been going into the fraction unit. They've already got that understanding. And
So is that a chicken or egg thing? Because you said that fractions are something that either you don't believe you're very good at teaching or enjoy teaching. So what have you kind of learned about your own instruction in the area of fractions? Was it something that you struggled with because you didn't enjoy, or because the kids didn't grasp it, or because you didn't have the strategies?
I think all of that, because the kids didn't pick fractions up as quickly as some of the other things I taught in 3rd grade, that led to me not maybe enjoying it as well. Not trying new things. When I'm learning from my class, that old way of showing a circle and you've got 5 equal parts, it divided into 5 equal parts, and 3 of those are shaded, and the child writes, what is that fraction for the shaded part? That students, research is showing that students, that's not the way that they're learning how fractions, or what fractions are. So it's kind of all of that. I'm enjoying it more because I'm seeing them apply this more to real world situations. I feel like they're enjoying it more, because they're understanding that, hey, this is something that we do. We divide things with our friends, our families every day, just kind of putting that into math terms. So yeah, a little bit of all of that.
Good. So it sounds like the AA class has gone pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yes, definitely.
Those
I'm learning a lot.
Those are hit and miss sometimes.
Yeah, no, this is a hit. I'm really excited about it, and excited as to where this is going to go when I'm actually kind of delving into the unit with my class.
So is there any additional support that the school can provide that will make this easier to implement?
I'm not sure yet what I will be using in the way of manipulatives. I know that there are some manipulatives that are available, that we have kind of that we share as an elementary. So far with the class, manipulatives are not something that we've used. The kids have been drawing their own pictures. So I'm going to be asking some questions about that. So possibly manipulatives. The other thing would just be continued time to talk with Heather and Krista when we do our data teams. I know the focus right now is literacy, but when I get into this, you know, if I have more questions from them, for them, or need more resources, I guess it would just be that continued time talking with them.